I'm gonna read the story about Peter Pan. Peter Pan. Long ago, there was a family called Darling. Mr. and Mrs. Darling had 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter. The daughter named Wendy and the eldest child in the family. Her 2 young brothers were named John and Michael respectively. One night, Mr. and Mrs. Darling were to go to a party, so they decided to leave all the 3 of their children in the care of their pet dog Nana. And this they did while leaving for the party. Wendy started telling her brothers a story to put them to sleep. Suddenly, a strange boy in green clothes jumped into the room. A tiny glowing fairy also flew in and stood beside the boy. Nana jumped off his shoes. "Who are you?" asked Wendy. "I am Peter Pan, and this fairy is Tinkerbell," replied the boy, asking for his shadow back. Wendy stitched Peter's shadow back to his shoes. Peter told the children that he hailed from Neverland, a place where all those boys lived who had run away from their homes. "What were you doing here?" asked Wendy. "Tinkerbell and I often come to listen to your stories," replied Peter Pan. He thanked Wendy for researching his shadow and gave him an acorn button. She put the button on a chain and wore it around her neck. "Come with me to our land. I sprinkle you with fairy dust and you will be able to fly." The Darling children were eager to go with Peter Pan and Tinkerbell, who sprinkled the fairy dust on their bodies. It enabled them to fly. Just as they neared Neverland, a huge blast shook the area. "It is the work of the gang led by Hook. They are shooting at us," shouted Peter. "Who's Hook?" asked John. "He's the leader of the pirates. He hates me because I cut off one of his hands. Now he wears an iron hook in its place," replied Peter Pan. Just then, high winds began to blow such a force that they carried all of them away. Peter and the fairy were blown away to one side while John and Michael to another. As for Wendy, she was carried away to still other direction. Go after Wendy, oh fairy, shouted Peter. The fairy obeyed and found Wendy flying near the home of the lost boys. One of the boys shot an arrow at Wendy, who fell down at that. But an acorn button worn by Wendy stopped the arrow, and no harm could come to her. Peter's gift had saved Wendy's life, and she was very happy. Peter and Tinker Bell were also happy to see Wendy safe and sound. Wendy joined the company of the lost boys. They were happy to have her with them. She told them interesting stories at night. They listened to her stories and enjoyed themselves very much. Wendy had become quite friendly with the lost boys. She looked after them carefully and kept them happy in every way. They played together and ate together as well. It was indeed a jolly company. One day, Wendy, Peter, and all the lost boys were playing together on the rocks in the mermaid's lagoon. Suddenly, they saw the gang of pirates. They were kidnapped in an Indian princess named Tiger Lily. As soon as Peter Pan saw this, he rushed towards the pirates in order to rescue the princess. To the good luck of the princess and Peter, a crocodile also appeared and darted towards the princess. And Peter darted towards the pirates. It alarmed the pirates very much. Captain Hook, the ringleader of the pirates, was quite upset at the sight of the crocodiles. His plan to kidnap the princess and failed like anything. His effort to capture Peter Pan also ended in a spook. Captain Hook had no choice but to run away in order to save his life. Chase them for fear. Slave. Peter and the princess ran away to safely, and Hook could not dare to chase them for fear of the crocodile. Tiger Lily and the Indian princess reached home quite safe and sound. The Indians decided to celebrate the safe rescue of their princess. That night, they danced and sang to the beat of the drum. It was a very lucky event. Happy event indeed. Wendy joined the boys. Wendy enjoyed the event and then went back home to look after the lost boys. Reaching home, Wendy put the boys to sleep by telling them an interesting story. When they had fallen fast asleep, she went to the kitchen and cooked a cake for Peter. The cake being ready, Wendy sat down writing a note for Peter telling him to have a piece of cake when he got back home. Hook, the chief pirate, was watching all this from the window. Hardly had Wendy finished the note when the gang of the pirates stormed their room and got inside with knives and other weapons in their hand. The boys along the Wendy felt highly afraid. Captain Hook and his gangs were able to capture Wendy and all the lost boys as well. They took them prisoners and decided to carry them away. Hook was sorry and angry at Peter's escape. So before leaving along with the prisoners, Captain Hook poured poison over the cake that was meant for Peter Pan. Then he took Wendy and the lost boys to their ship. Captain Hook was happy that Peter would silently die after eating the poisoned cake. He was sure nobody would come to rescue Wendy. Luckily for Peter, Tinker Bell the fairy has seen Captain Hook pouring the poison over the cake. So she decided to destroy the cake in order to save Peter's valuable life. As soon as Peter came home, he tried to eat the cake, but Tinkerbell knocked the cake down the floor and told him that had happened. Peter and the fairy decided to go to the ship of the pirates and rescue the boys and Wendy, so they made for where the ship was stationed. Reaching the ship, Peter crept aboard and hid himself in the cabin. He began to make strange sounds. He was sure that Hook would send the prisoners to find out the secret of the sounds. And so it happened before long. As soon as the boys entered the cabin, Peter asked them to fight against the pirates. As the fight broke out, Hook jumped overboard right into jaws of the crocodiles to be mugged up by it. Everyone clapped at the death of the dangerous pirate. Wendy, John and Michael felt it was time to them to return home. The fairy sprinkled fairy dust over the ship and it flew high up in the sky with everyone aboard. When the ship got near the Darling house, Peter, Wendy and the fairy flew into the nursery window. Wendy's two younger brothers and the lost boys followed suit. When leaving Wendy and her brothers at home, Peter, Tinkerbell and the lost boys decided to return to their place. Wendy, along with her brothers, came out to see their friends. They waved goodbye to them and flew off to Wonderland. The end.